What did you know before the world told you who to be? I remembered something about myself the other day that made me laugh. I was 7 years old, and my second grade teacher built an enormous makeshift assembly line that took up half the classroom. And she explained that each of us would stand in one place and assemble the same little piece over and over again because that's what assembly lines were. And I didn't want to make one piece, and I wanted to go through the whole line and create the whole thing myself. And so, as a 7 year old, I asked for an alternative assignment. And apparently, even then, I knew what made me come alive and what didn't. And that is what we are going to be talking about today on Infinite You. What makes you come alive? Welcome to Infinite You Amazing Souls. I'm Dr. Sheri, and here on this channel, I help you move beyond limits, align with who you truly are, and consciously create more of what you want in your life: abundance, freedom, vitality, meaning, purpose, joy, whatever it is you came here to experience. So let's dive in. But before we do, if these kinds of conversations resonate with you, go ahead, hit subscribe, hit like, and definitely comment. You have a funny story of when you were 7 that you need to, share with me. Anyhow, my teacher was wonderful. Almost everything we learned in her classroom was experiential. It was a part of the time. And so when I saw this giant assembly line, I was really, really excited. And then she explained the assignment, and each child would stand in one place and complete one repetitive step. Very Henry Ford. There was nothing wrong with the lesson. It simply did not resonate with me, and I did not want to stand in one place making the same tiny part. I wanted to understand the whole process, move through every station, see how the pieces were connected, and make the finished thing myself. I was not rejecting structure. I wanted to participate more fully. And even at 7, I knew I could follow a process, but I needed enough freedom inside of it to feel like I was remaining alive. And I didn't even know about consciousness or the word for it, way back in the day. But I think that children often know far more about themselves than we realize. They're super connected to all that is. They're still in that energetic entanglement in that umbilical cord, that bigger energetic umbilical cord. They know what fascinates them. They know what lights them up. They know what feels confining, exciting, beautiful, or just plain wrong. And they may not have the language to explain it, but they feel it. So before we accumulate decades of expectations and reasons to distrust ourselves, many of us are absolutely closer to that inner voice. We just have forgotten it. But we know through energy, through resonance, through curiosity. We know through our bodies when something opens or something contracts. We know the feeling of a hell yes, right? But then conditioning begins to be agreeable, follow the instructions, choose the sensible path, do what works for everyone else, and slowly many of us become very skilled at doing what is expected while becoming less certain of what is true for us. And so we stop asking, does this feel like me? Does this make me feel alive? And we start asking, is this what I'm supposed to do? A formula can be excellent. A strategy can be proven. A structure can work beautifully for thousands of people, and it still may not be the right structure for you. It doesn't make the formula wrong, and it doesn't make you difficult or undisciplined. It may simply mean that you need to engage in the process differently. Some people love repetition. Some people thrive inside clear roles. Other people need to understand the whole system. They need room to experiment, connect ideas, and shape the process as they go. Neither way, anyway, none of it is superior to the other. The problem begins when we assume there is one correct way to work, to learn, to create, to decide, to heal, to build a business, or to live a meaningful life. It's different for each of us. You can spend years trying to fit inside a successful formula and conclude that something is wrong with you, when the deeper truth may be that the formula was never designed around the way you naturally come alive. I'm definitely not anti-structure. I've got Uranus and Pluto in Virgo, right? Like, for sure, Virgos like to have things be organized. Absolutely. I'm not anti-structure. I love frameworks. I develop frameworks. I've spent most of my life in education, research, psychology, statistics, program evaluation, writing content, right? I understand the value of systems and clear parameters. Structure can help us focus, help us communicate, and give us an idea of physical form. But I need to feel alive in what I'm doing. I can follow a formula when it makes sense. I can work hard inside a structure when I understand its purpose, but I need the freedom to decide whether the structure fits. And so I'm asking you that same question. Do you need to be able to say, this part of this formula or structure supports me, this does not, I will keep this, I will change that, and maybe you will create a new structure because what you're bringing to life needs a different container. This is not rebellion for the sake of rebellion, it's creative sovereignty. The right structure should not make you feel less recognizable to yourself. It should give what is alive within you somewhere to go. And this is really one of the reasons why I appreciate human design so much. At its best, it reminds us that we are not all designed to move through life in the same way. We do not all make decisions the same way. We do not use energy the same way. We do not interact in the same way. We do not all need the same pace, environment, rhythm, or path. Human design can give language to the differences we may have felt since childhood, but it should not become another formula that tells you who you are. It should help you recognize yourself more clearly. No chart, personality system, business model, or spiritual framework should become more authoritative than your living relationship with your own body, your soul, your energy, your experience, and God. The map can help, but you are still the territory. Listen for what resonates. Tune in to what feels right. Notice what creates more clarity, energy, ease, and self-recognition, and what makes you feel smaller or farther away from yourself. Not everything that feels uncomfortable is wrong for you. Sometimes discomfort means you are learning. Sometimes repetition builds mastery. Sometimes discipline asks you to do something you would rather avoid. So the question is not simply, do I like this? The deeper questions are, does this challenge me or diminish me? Am I resisting the work, or am I resisting becoming someone I am not? Does this structure support my expression or replace it? Do I feel stretched or erased? Growth can be uncomfortable and still feel alive. Misalignment often feels deadening. Learning to feel the difference is a part of that self-trust, right? So we can feel uncomfortable, but it still may be part of our path. Misalignment can feel completely deadening to us. We always know when we are tuned in. So what did you know before you overruled it? Think back to who you were before you became so practiced at being sensible. What did you love? What held your attention? How did you naturally create, learn, play, imagine, and solve problems? What did you know about yourself before the world told you who you should be? Maybe you wanted to lead. Maybe you needed to understand why before you could follow instructions. Maybe you could spend hours making something, caring for animals, telling stories, taking things apart, dancing, drawing, or asking impossible questions. Those early impulses are not always a literal career plan, but they often contain clues. They reveal how your life force naturally moves, and perhaps the work is not becoming someone entirely new. Perhaps it is remembering the parts of you that were alive before they were edited for approval. You do not need to reject every formula or every structure or every framework or assembly line. You know, learn from people, use the framework, study the strategy, follow the rules that protect or support what matters, but keep listening, keep tuning in. A formula can be useful without becoming your authority. A structure can guide you without defining the edges of possibility. You get to decide your parameters. You get to adjust the process. And you are not failing because someone else's successful formula does not bring you alive. You may simply be designed to create differently. The goal is not a life without structure. It is a life in which the structure still leaves room for your whole being to participate. At 7 years old, I did not have the words for conditioning, consciousness, resonance, creative sovereignty, or human design. Although I kind of started dabbling in astrology at the age of 7, as unrealistic as that may seem. But I simply knew that I was standing in one place and making one piece. I knew that standing in one place, making one piece over and over and over was not how I wanted to experience the assignment. I wanted to see the whole thing. I wanted to understand it. I didn't want to be a drone. I wanted to create it. And I love that little girl for knowing. And maybe there is a younger version of you who knew something too. I have made videos about like, what were you thinking and feeling at the age of 7? What were you doing? What were you creating? So ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? What kind of structure helps me become more fully myself? Where have I been forcing myself into a formula that does not fit? How much of it is old programs and conditioning too? And what did I know before I learned to override my own knowing? That's all the programming. We know that, right? All that subconscious, unconscious stuff. Listen for the answer. Your life is not an assembly line. You are not here to repeat one prescribed function while someone else decides what the finished creation should become. You are here to participate with your whole being, to learn, to discern, to choose, and to create in a way that feels unmistakably you. And if this conversation resonated with you, I would love for you to hit subscribe, hit like, and definitely comment. Do you know what I'm talking about? That whole assembly line feeling, that conditioning of this is who you're going to be, even though it doesn't feel right for you. So I will put links below for my free newsletter, my Infinite You newsletter. I will put a link below too for my Quantum Identity Playbook. So it's really all about recognizing beliefs and patterns and identities that have been shaping your choices and how you can see where you're looping, make the pivot, and create from who you really are. And you will find both links below. I will see you all in the next video. Amazing, expansive, beautiful souls. Namaste.